What is up, guys? NYKF31 here, and going to do another, or start this video off with another State of Madden address. As we know, a patch dropped this week, which addressed coverage issues, mainly with Cover 3 specifically. As we know, coverage all year in the game has not been in a great state. As you can see, I'm not playing Madden 22. I saw what was coming early, and the flip never switched on. I was like, I am not in a state of mind where I can do this again right now. I'm going to let the game breathe. The way things are going, my plan was to maybe revisit things in October, but it ain't good. It ain't good. I don't know how many of you guys who follow me or watch me follow the Sim Standard Radio guys, Sim F Ball Critic and Smitty and their podcast, but they're talking about the same thing as well, as far as the state of the coverage, what they need to do to fix the coverage, and the reaction post-update. And people like Zan, Madden Universe, aka Relly, all the Madden heads in Twitter, Gut Fox, all those guys have been lamenting the same thing. The fact that right now, if you try to play Cover 3, especially against the most common formation that you see if you're a head-to-head person, it's an unplayable coverage. And even against normal base stuff, it doesn't function the way it should. Simple 2x2 sail or a simple wide trips sail concept will blow it apart because the corners are playing out of phase. Match concepts are all out of whack. The whole purpose of Cover 3 match really was to help combat two of the main weaknesses of country Cover 3, the seams and the sail concept. Match Cover 3 is a man matching concept where you match vertical routes. So if you're going to be defending the seams, you will have your apex defenders carry and play man-to-man on vertical threats so that the safety isn't as conflicted as he would be in a landmark, spot drop, pattern reading Cover 3 coverage as well. And the same thing with the sail concept, where you run the corner off with a streak and break a corner underneath of him in a landmark country Cover 3 scheme. That corner route really puts a lot of stress on the apex defender because he can't widen out as wide or as deep as that route, and the corner is being occupied by the streak. So match Cover 3. Your whole intention is to have that apex defender be able to carry that man-to-man, and the strong side linebacker, if there's a back to that side, he is now relating to the back and the flat. None of that is happening, at least not very well. It's terrible. And when you combine that, and Smith Law Critic made a great point in his video, and other guys in the community saw this coming as well. Zan as well. Zan is like the crystal ball guy of the Madden community. And Zan was really the first one, I believe, who brought this point up. And it was a point that people were not paying enough attention to. Is that when you combine the AI system with a new movement system, and the AI is still showing the same bugs and flaws and inability to be fixed at a development level, and you stack on a movement system on top of that, which causes more deliberate change of direction, what you have is a scenario where you have the coverage logic broken combined with the fact that the defenders are no longer able to move. And then you have just awful displays of technique as a result, and wide open stuff all over the field in places where you should be able to account for them if you schemed up correctly. There are some stuff that does work a little bit better. Quarters plays doesn't play great, but it is able to handle some problems that you can't handle with Cover 3 and vice versa, but Cover 3 is damn near unplayable. People are going to end up just playing man coverage and saying to hell with it at some point. And on top of that, you have no pass rush. I see no pass rush in this game whatsoever. If you're going to have bad coverage, at least let us get after the quarterback. Madden 20 Even though with the pass rush abilities, it turned everyone with a pass rush ability into Lawrence Taylor. At least you had something. And then the pass rush abilities were neutered in 21, where you needed to have a user control pass rusher in order to get that same impact as the Madden 20 pass rushers gave you. Now I see nothing. I see no pass rusher whatsoever. So you combine that with horrible player movement and reaction skills and technique, combined with the coverage patch, making the coverage in a lot of ways worse and causing new problems. And you have a game where people are like, what the hell do we do? How do we stop stuff? So you have to resort to gimmicky plastic surgery like measures in order to deal with things. There's no such thing as a 25-yard curl flat drop. It doesn't exist. In order for someone to do that in real life, they'd have to go on a dead sprint, and what would end up happening is they would leave anyone in the slots completely uncovered at snap of the ball, and it'd be a quick snap throw down the seam, pop, 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 because he'd have to go on a dead run in order to get 25 goddamn yards down the field on a curl flat drop. Insanity. Unless you're playing a protect the sticks call on defense, you don't see stuff like that. But this game is unable to, or the development cycle is unable to fix the underlying issues. So you have all these band-aid features like that, and users have to do a lot of plastic surgery and mass scientist stuff pre-snap in order to protect themselves and come up with stuff. What else are they going to do if you're competing, head to head? And if you want to have a somewhat enjoyable experience, you got to figure stuff out. So that's why you get the circus app that you get on a year-to-year basis. It's not good. It's not good, man. When you combine that with the delays with franchise features, that compounds stuff for the franchise guys as well. So it leaves the game not in a good state. I'm still not in a place where I want to play it. I barely watch it. I don't know how people are playing this game for money this year right now. And in general, there's just a lack of excitement and enjoyability around the game this year. At least that's how I see things. I don't sense a lot of happy Madden campers right about now. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's just my observation. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say as far as that's concerned. And what's discouraging is that you don't see any sense of a resolution around the horizon. You just don't. So where does this leave you? Until something fundamentally changes as far as the attitude towards the development of the game, you're just going to have this constant cycle of tuning and retuning and patching and band-aid fixes and things like needing to have sky-high ratings on a player in order to have him do this basic core fundamental schematic stuff. I'm not talking about defending exotic route concepts or formations or motions, just simple meat and potatoes base plays, like simple all crossers or simple sail concept. You need to have a guy, you need to have an entire back end full of Jalen Ramseys and Harrison Smiths. You need linebackers that are all, Bobby Wagner. And no one has that. And even in MUT, no one has that right now. The players aren't rated high enough. And in regs, you have guys where some teams, if you have a couple of guys rated in the mid to low 80s, that's good for most NFL teams. So I don't know, man. I don't know how people are going to get through this cycle. I have no idea. So that's that as far as Madden is concerned. Now, as far as the NFL goes, as of right now, there is one 3-0 team in the league. They play in Carolina, the Carolina Panthers. I wonder who the quarterback is. I wonder. Who could it be? Sam Darnold is good. Sam Darnold is good, y'all. Who's been a Sam Darnold truther this entire time? Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. He was always a good quarterback. And we knew this was going to happen. We knew the moment that Sam Darnold was free of the Adam Gase plague, and you gave him Christian McCaffrey, you gave him DJ Moore, you gave him Robbie Anderson, you gave him a freaking coaching staff, you gave him a line that would give him a chance that this was going to happen, and it's happening. 3-0, Sam has thrown for just shy of 900 yards already through 3 games, 3 TDs, 1 pick. DJ Moore looks like he's having his breakout season. He's off of that kind of start. Robbie Anderson's averaging 20 yards a catch. Christian McCaffrey hasn't really busted out all that much yet, but you know that's going to come. And Sam Darnold looks like a bona fide NFL quarterback. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thought that if you gave a young developing quarterback some weapons, some good coaching, he'd have a fighting chance. Instead, what did the Jets do the past 2 years under that piece of garbage Gase? I gotta take a little deep breath. I gotta take a breath to compose myself, because it just makes me so angry how they wasted 2 years of that kid's career. Most sane, sensible organizations, what do when they draft a quarterback? They build a freaking team around him. They go out of their way to make sure that he has a comfort level with something, whether it's the OC, the cute quarterback coach, stockpiling personnel around him, something, anything, bringing in his teammates from college. They do everything possible to make his life as easy as possible and give him the best chance to succeed as they can, because your entire team is invested in how he develops. Your job as a coach and the GM is invested in him. Everything revolves around him. And what did those a-holes do? If anything, they took away from him. They don't bring back Robbie Anderson. They surround him with garbage on the offensive line. He's out there throwing to Jamison Crowder, who's been a trooper, but he's a third receiver. He's a slot receiver on a good team. And you have Braxton Berrios. Then you wonder why he's out there just playing chuck and duck. You know, third and 14, tunnel screen. 3rd and 8, all hitches for 4 yards. I saw more all hitches on 3rd and 8 over the past 2 years than I've seen in my entire life. And if I saw one more bubble screen on 3rd and 12, I was going to kick something. It drove me out of my mind. I was going to set every piece of property that I own on fire. It was just a nightmare. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I can't get on Zach Wilson too much right now. He's a kid. He's young. He had a horrible game the last time out. But again, you're resetting. You get rid of your quarterback, you draft another one, you bring in a whole new coaching staff, you're starting from ground zero again. I would much rather have had this coaching staff, because I do think that Saleh's a good coach. I do like what he's trying to do. I actually think the Jets defense is okay. The Jets defense over the past few years has been all right. They're not a top 10 defense. They're probably not even a top 15 defense, but they're a solid, average NFL defense that has been put into compromised positions time and time again over the past 3 or 4 years. Bad field position due to turnovers, constant 3 and outs on the field over and over again. And they're just not good enough to overcome that. Very few defenses are, but when you're on the average to above average side, you definitely aren't. And for a team that has corners that most people have never heard of, and they still can't rush the passer with a goddamn. I mean, you obviously have Quinnen Williams in there on the interior, and losing, Carl Lawson was the most Jet luck of all time. But be that as it may, I think defensively, especially when Mosley's on the field, they play decent enough. They're not a liability. The liability with the Jets has always been how the hell are they going to score? Are they going to be trash on offense again this year? You know, so I would much rather have this coaching staff, this defense with Darnold, some combination of Crowder and Berrios in the slot. I actually like Braxton Berrios a lot. I really do. I think I would rather him be the full-time slot receiver. I know Crowder is on the shelf right now, but if they either traded Crowder or ate what was left off of his contract, I wouldn't complain. So I don't think he's a legitimate, true outside guy. But if you threw Braxton Berrios in the slot full-time, I absolutely think he would catch 60, 70 balls or so. I think the kid can play, and I don't mind Corey Davis. I like Corey Davis a lot. So if you gave me Corey Davis, Berrios / Crowder, and Sam, you have Mekhi Becton, who you drafted, and the line has been okay. The backs have been okay, nothing to write home about. They've been all right, but you throw Sam in there, and you draft me Kyle Pitts. That ain't bad. That you could work with, but you have to have a coaching staff that has a goddamn clue. But again, now we're back to bringing in a rookie quarterback and going through those growing pains. But, I do think the Jets do have a competent staff. It's just a matter of whether Zach Wilson's going to pan out or not. If Zach Wilson can't play, none of that matters. And where are you again? You're looking for a new quarterback 2 years from now, and you're probably going to have your coach fired. So those are the things that happens when you screw up your quarterback position. And it's just a never-ending cycle of misery. But yeah, that's my take on the Jets. That's my take on Sam. That's my take on Madden. I'm watching some college football right now. I'm watching Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and watching Notre Dame refuse to use the most talented set of receivers they've had in eons. They just will not use them. They will not throw to them. They still want to try to run the ball. They can't run the ball this year at all. Their running game has been awful all year long. And Whiskey's being, pesky. And Cohen's all right. The thing about Cohen is that he just can't move. He cannot evade a pass rush whatsoever. So if no one is open, he cannot buy time. And I actually do think they want to play Bushner, but I don't think they feel like he's ready yet. Bushner, you can kind of see is a half-read player right now, a half-field player right now, and if it's not there, just run. That's where I think that he's at right now. And until I think they get to a point where they feel confident that he can read the field, I think that's what he's going to be, a change-up guy. But there are some good games that are going on. LSU and Mississippi State are going on, and I just question whether LSU gives a damn about football anymore. They cashed in the Natty, and since then they've just been ugh. And that's a job opening or potential job that bears watching if Orgeron continues to kind of like trend sideways. You might have LSU and USC open. And other than that, I mean, Georgia is just destroying Vanderbilt. And the only other big games that you have on the schedule this week, you have A&M and Arkansas, both of them ranked. Arkansas is 3-0, A&M's 3-0, A&M is 7, Arkansas is 16, and I do think A&M is starting to make a believer out of me. I'm always skeptical about A&M, but I'm starting to think this team might be a little bit different. Their defense is legitimately good. I think Georgia has the best defense in the country right now. I think A&M is right there, along with Clemson. Clemson's being carried by their defense right now. Clemson's ranked number 9, but I don't think Clemson has a couple more losses in them because they're not scoring. They can't score. I get that you lose the quarterback, the generational quarterback, and you lost T. Higgins, you lost ATN. So I can understand that you have some parts to replace, but it shouldn't be just a drop off to nothing where you're making Georgia look like 2000, 18, 19 LSU. I mean, the drop off can't be that severe. So that's odd. Michigan, I still don't know how good Michigan is yet. They're 3-0, right? 19. They haven't really played anybody. Rutgers is 3-0. They play them, so who the hell knows about them? And UCLA, just when you trust UCLA a little bit, they go and lose to, I think they lost to Fresno State. Was it? They're still in the top 25 though, and they play Stanford. And wouldn't surprise me if UCLA goes UCLA and become frauds once again and lose that game. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And you also have, who else do you have? Nebraska, Michigan State. That's interesting. Nebraska is going to win a game that they shouldn't win. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to go winless in the Big Ten. That I don't see happening. Do I think they're good? No. I think they're, pretty lackluster talent-wise from what I've seen from them. But they gave Oklahoma a good scrap. They really did. But they're going to be somebody, and this can be one of those games where they might catch somebody. But it's on the road though, so who knows? But that bears watching. I think that could be interesting. And Florida, Tennessee. I was really impressed by Florida against Alabama. I think they're close. I don't like the quarterback at all. I don't think Emory Jones is going to be that guy that's going to get them over the hump. But I think they're pretty darn close everywhere else. I'd rather them play the other kid. I know the kid is young. What's his name? Is he a true or a redshirt freshman? Anthony Richardson. I'd rather see more of him. I don't think Emory Jones throws the ball near well enough. And you're not going to get over the hump against LSU. Well, not LSU. Georgia, I mean. Georgia and Alabama if you can't throw. That's just not going to happen. So, I'll talk more on college football in a later video after those games just kind of get played out and go from there. UNC, G-Tech. You wouldn't see another, perennial fraud team. G-Tech gave Clemson all they could handle. Would it surprise me if North Carolina lost that game? No, I view North Carolina, Texas, and A&M in that category of false prophets. You got to show me before I believe in you. So that's pretty much all that's on my mind when it comes to Madden, the NFL right now, and what's going on in college football. I'm going to start posting some Dynasty Mode videos very soon and, have some fun with that and go from there. So hope you guys enjoy, and I will talk to you all later. Peace.